Testing 1, 2. Well, hello there and welcome back to the channel. On today's video, I thought I would bring you along for making a Victoria sponge turned into a Victoria sandwich. I learned about this recipe many years ago when I discovered the Great British Baking Show. Tonight we're having a family dinner for my daughter-in-law who just recently had a birthday, and she had no requests. So I decided to make loblabi and a small pot of matzo ball soup because she loves matzo ball soup. And then for dessert, I thought of the Victoria sandwich because it's a nice light dessert. So one of my daughters said, why don't you make a video about it? And I'm not necessarily a cooking channel or cooking video channel, am I? But I did think, well, I could talk to you a little bit about what I'm learning right now on my journey of discovery to being a writer, whilst I put this together really quickly. Of course, part of the time, the KitchenAid will be going, so maybe we'll just have some nice music playing. The recipe I use for the Victoria sponge I got off of BBC Food many years ago. It doesn't say the date. It used to be that when you printed something off, it would have the date at the bottom. So I don't remember exactly when I bought this, but I'll put the recipe in the description below, or you could just pause the video right now. And I will tell you this. I cut the sugar in almost every recipe I do. So here are my pans, and they've already been greased. I have some parchment paper in the bottom, so that'll be easier. I have my nice glass of sparkling water. Sometimes I like to light a candle when I'm in the kitchen. This is the garbanzo beans that are soaking, which will be used for the loblabi. But back to the Victoria sponge. Here's the flour, already measured out. It's 225 grams. And the sugar calls for 225 grams, but I cut it to about 140 grams. 2 teaspoons of vanilla, 4 eggs, which I'm happy to report, these are our own eggs. Our chickens are finally starting to lay eggs again. And then this is 225 grams of butter. It does not call for unsalted butter, but that happens to be the most I had in the fridge was unsalted, so I added a little bit of salt to the sugar. And I'm going to use the KitchenAid stand mixer, which I've had for 19 years. It was a present from my sister and her husband. And I want to show you the scale that I use for measuring. It's this one. I use the OXO scale, which I love. And I actually got this years ago when I was obsessed with the Great British Baking Show. And one of my sons bought it for me for a gift, which was great. And you can measure in grams or ounces. All right, so time to get everything mixed up. So this is what I wanted to say. I have been pretty successful with doing my morning pages every week, every day, except for I give myself grace on the weekends. I don't necessarily get right out of bed and do morning pages on Saturdays and Sundays. I think that's fine, right? Especially if writing is a career, you know, you take off on the weekends, don't you, with your other careers and things. So that's fine. But I have found that working on my book has been a bit tricky if I don't have somewhere to go and time to kill. For example, my two youngest girls were in a play, and so during their rehearsals, which is 3 days a week, I was able to work without a problem because I had to find something to do while they were in their rehearsal. So I would go to the library, or I would go to a tea shop or a coffee shop or the bookstore. The bookstore has a nice table and a chair, and they don't mind people coming in there and hanging out. Since that's ended, I found it to be a little bit tricky. So I was watching a video by Kelly Nataris, and I think I mentioned her to you when I was talking about the Hay House Writers community. She has a YouTube channel with videos that she makes in addition to the ones that are made in the writers community. And so I was watching one of her videos about how to incorporate your writing time, and it wasn't much different than what she had talked about in the writers community, but I found it just gave me a little bit of, I don't know, direction, or just a little bit of a kick, I guess. And she was just mentioning that she has a friend who's a full-time writer who just gets up in the morning, makes a cup of coffee, and then writes for hours after that, because that friend is treating it like a job. And so you can't sit around waiting for inspiration to strike. You just have to write, right? And so if you're writing, then you're a writer. So she said, you know, you might not necessarily have hours to spend every day, but try 15 minutes. So since I don't have a problem accomplishing the things that I must do, for example, homeschooling, I get up and I get ready for the day and I do homeschooling. This is what I'm going to try to do, and I'll get back with you to see how it works. So what I'm going to do is, after I'm finished with homeschooling with the girls, I'll set my timer for 15 minutes and I will just work on my book proposal for 15 minutes, and we'll see where that gets us. According to Kelly Nataris, most people write whole books in 15-minute spurts a day and they get the job done. And so that's what I'm going to give it. I'm going to give that a try, and we'll see how that goes. So thanks for listening. It feels good just to kind of talk it out. Anyway, you tell me how you have found time to incorporate something out of the ordinary into your normal life, and maybe I'll find inspiration from that also. Now back to the Victorian Sponge. The recipe actually calls for, I think it's 7-inch pans. I happen to have, I think these are 9-inch. So each layer is going to be a little bit on the thin side, but once it's baked and you put it together, it's completely fine. It'll be delicious. I haven't made one of these in a while. Probably, maybe it was the summer of 2018 or 19. I think I made one almost every week. It felt like it anyway. If I had company or somewhere to go with a dish, that's what I made. Okay. So while that's baking, I'm going to go ahead and prep for the lablabi, which I found out about lablabi from this cooking magazine called Milk Street, Christopher Kimball's Milk Street magazine. This is from 2018, I think. I can't see the date because I don't have my reading glasses on. February 2018. Here's something funny about this. I'm going to tell you real fast. In the fall of 2016, we were on vacation in Maine, and we were staying at like an Airbnb, a VRB or something like that in Southwest Harbor. But we happened to be in Bar Harbor doing the grocery shopping, and on the magazine rack I saw this name, Christopher Kimball's Milk Street. And at the time, I was familiar with Christopher Kimball from a show called America's Test Kitchen. And it turns out I picked it up and it was the flagship issue of this new magazine. He left America's Test Kitchen and started his own thing called Christopher Kimball's Milk Street. So immediately I got a subscription. Now I no longer have a subscription, but I still love these magazines. So this dish, lablabi, is typically a Tunisian dish. Well, it says Tunisia's bread, chickpea, and harissa soup. So it's delicious. I'm gonna hold it. Actually, maybe we'll just snap a picture of it and we can put it here so you can see the recipe. I'm not going to show you how to make it, but I'll show you what it looks like when it's all done. Okay, here they are out of the oven, the Victorian Sponge, and now it has to cool so that I can turn it into a Victorian Sandwich. And I'll be sure to show you what that looks like when it's done. But these look good. I think she's gonna like them. Well, here it is, the Victorian Sandwich. Not exactly full of class because I decided to make a smiley face, but it is for my dear daughter-in-law's birthday and she makes us all smile. So this Victorian Sandwich is actually made with homemade blueberry jam, freshly whipped whole cream, and then these are frozen blueberries that we picked and put in the freezer last year. I think she's gonna love it.